Naughty. Extremely complex or difficult to solve. The knotty details of the case were so entangled that it was hard to tell who was telling the truth. The girl's hair was always knotty and hard to comb out after she went swimming. Pernicious. Having a harmful effect, especially in a gradual way. Parents are blaming not only peer pressure but also the pernicious influence of the internet. If you are going to behave in such a pernicious manner, I would prefer to not be around you. Winsome. Charming, engaging, often in a childlike way. The ecology movement often works best on behalf of winsome landscapes and wildlife. The politician's winsome personality makes him appealing to young and old voters alike. Adroit. Skillful and adept under pressing conditions. The subdivision of stock into subject groups calls for flexible and adroit administration. Although Herman proved quite adroit at carpentry, he was never able to sell any of his pieces. Dexterous. Skillful in the use of hands or body, clever. He was a ready and powerful debater, full of resources, and dexterous in controversy. Although elephants are known for their long trunks, they also have a highly dexterous tongue. Judicious. Having, showing, or done with good judgment or sense. The President authorizes the judicious use of military force to protect our citizens. Judicious investors will only put their money into stocks which will provide them with hefty profits. Meticulous. Showing great attention to detail, very careful and precise. She was very much the craftswoman. All her work was meticulous, slow, and perfect. The way you mix creative ideas with meticulous attention to detail is the key to success. Ostentatious. Characterized by vulgar or pretentious display. In order to avoid being robbery targets, tourists are encouraged to not wear ostentatious jewelry. My wealthy aunt who enjoys flaunting her wealth always wears an ostentatious diamond necklace. Prodigious. Remarkably great in extent, size, or degree. These are prodigious changes, and we naturally give them careful consideration. If you have a prodigious memory, you may be suited for careers in education or research. Sagacious. Having or showing good judgment, wise. It was like an intuition, he comprehended it with his clear and sagacious promptitude. Instead of getting into a petty argument, do the sagacious thing next time and walk away. Bombastic. High-sounding but with little meaning, inflated. Either way, they made this noble symphony sound bombastic and sometimes comical. This is a singular prose poem, in language sometimes rather bombastic but often beautiful. Grandiose. Impressive or magnificent in appearance or style. Why would anyone want to build a grandiose office building in such a tiny town? Uncle Adam is prone to making grandiose statements about his wealth when he is drunk. Acerbic. Sharp and forthright, tasting sour or bitter. Even though many people enjoy Jim's wit, they are not always fans of his acerbic viewpoints. After John heard his teacher's acerbic comments, he was not motivated to complete his project. Loquacious. Tending to talk a great deal, talkative. While Jared was shy and reserved, his twin brother Michael was outgoing and loquacious. Usually loquacious, my sister was at a loss for words when she met her favorite soccer player. Opulent. Ostentatiously rich and luxurious or lavish. He lived an opulent lifestyle that included sports cars and enormous homes. Although the hotel was filled with opulent designer furnishings, its room rates were affordable. Contemporary. Existing, or occurring at the same time. Sometimes a single picture sheds light on ancient history or contemporary politics. The 16th century house has been renovated and furnished in a contemporary style. Underprivileged. Lacking essential things for a comfortable life. Princess Anne has done much to help underprivileged children all over the world. Infected rates are high among urban elites as well as among the poor and underprivileged. Reminiscent. Awakening memories of something similar. It is known that the simple blue cornflower is reminiscent of summer meadows. In the photograph, it is obvious the toddler is very reminiscent of her mother at that age. Timely. Happening at the best possible moment. The recent outbreak is a timely reminder that this disease is a serious health hazard. The incident served as a timely reminder of how dangerous our environment can be. Skeptical. Doubting that something is true or useful. Skeptical of strangers, the children refused to talk to anyone who he had never met before. Skeptical investors refused to invest without a guarantee that their money would be returned. Vivid. Producing powerful feelings, or clear images. The artist was known for his vivid paintings that were distinguished by their colorful hues. The downside of such a vivid imagination is that the negatives can get very powerful as well. Far-fetched. Difficult to believe and unlikely to be true. The alien story published in the newspaper seems to be far-fetched and unreal. Her story about being chased away from school by wolves seems pretty far-fetched. Witty. Using words in a clever and funny way. Her spot on the show is well earned through years of hard work and her witty character. Eric is a great debater who employs his witty sense of humor when deflecting an attack. Reasonable. Behaving in a sensible and fair way. The prosecution has to prove beyond reasonable doubt that he is guilty of murder. You must take reasonable steps to ensure that the information that you provide is correct. Fecund. Fertile and productive, often in a creative way. The computer programmer was a fecund person who could quickly identify and solve problems. The airline is looking for fecund individuals who can complete many tasks in a short period of time. Absurd. Ridiculous, or completely unreasonable. It is absurd for the council to cut taxes without proposing another way to raise money. Spending a week in jail for stealing a loaf of bread is an absurd punishment for such a crime. Sanguine. Positive and hoping for good things. The sun lit up the area, bringing out tremendous sanguine red and amber highlights. Although the economy is looking better, we should not be too sanguine about the future. Intrigued. Arouse the curiosity or interest in something. When I studied weaving, I became intrigued with natural dyes and coloring. The course somehow intrigued us because it seemed less flaky than a lot of economics. Vulnerable. Susceptible to being attacked or damaged. Animals are at their most vulnerable when searching for food for their young. Without some type of shade, my toddler is going to be extremely vulnerable to the sun. Superficial. Concerned only with what is obvious or apparent. When he first meets her, she gives a superficial impression of warmth and friendliness. The tone of his book is consistently negative, occasionally arrogant, and often superficial. Definitive. Final and complete, not to be questioned or changed. Kids from 3 to 5 years old can experience more definitive issues than infants. As soon as the doctor gave a definitive diagnosis, the nurse began the patient's treatment. Robust. Exhibiting strength or vigorous health. More women than men go to the doctor. Perhaps men are more robust or worry less. We have hit one snag after another, but he is here now and he looked strong and robust. Samba. A feeling of great sadness. The mood was somber, as the whole nation mourned the death of their sovereign. When I saw the doctor's somber expression, I knew my diagnosis was not a good one. Whimsical. Spontaneously fanciful or playful. It would be more rewarding and fulfilling if we had a whimsical attitude toward life. The loose-fitting dress has a whimsical quality that makes it perfect for outdoor parties. Seductive. Having alluring or tempting qualities. Advertising agencies use seductive images to get more attention from consumers. Singing in a cool and seductive voice, Marilyn Monroe attracted every man in the room. Ambivalent. Having mixed feelings about something. The novel was an interesting read, full of dark imagery and ambivalent characters. When it was time to choose her major, Janet realized she was ambivalent about 2 career fields. Dogmatic. Asserting opinions in an arrogant manner. I don't mean to come across as dogmatic, but I am certain I am correct on this issue. Because he refused to listen to others, everyone considered the politician to be too dogmatic. Bewildered. Completely puzzled, or confused. Jason was bewildered by the strange noises coming from his neighbor's house. The customers were bewildered by the employee protest that was taking place outside the store. Audacious. Showing a willingness to take risks. The most successful people are those who are audacious and not afraid to take risks. Although Mike is an audacious athlete, she does not participate in any dangerous sports. Provocative. Intended to annoy or upset people. In a deliberately provocative speech, they criticized the whole system of the economy. The program will take a detailed and provocative look at the problem of homelessness. Solemn. Very serious or formal in manner. All affiliates had to swear a solemn oath never to disclose the secrets of the company. The mood of the meeting turned solemn when the extent of the problem became known. Laudatory. Expressing praise or admiration. The president issued a laudatory tweet celebrating the national team's Olympic victory. Although the review of the film was mostly laudatory, it did highlight the movie's few flaws. Exponential. Growing or increasing very rapidly. There has been an exponential increase in the world population this century. The amount of information on the internet is increasing at an exponential rate. Splendid. Very impressive and beautiful. As Christians, we have been granted loving hearts to do splendid deeds for needy people. The townspeople held a splendid celebration when the school won the national championship. Wrathful. Full of, or marked by extreme anger. In the Bible, we observe the wrathful and furious destruction of past civilizations. He is wrathful in appearance, ablaze with fire, and his lower body has the form of a snake. Reticent. Unwilling to speak about thoughts or feelings. When asked if he had broken the lamp, the child was reticent and refused to make eye contact. While Barbara likes to discuss her personal life with our co-workers, I am much more reticent. Malicious. Showing a desire to cause harm to someone. When the woman was fired, she accused the manager of being malicious towards her. Because the man was angry with the government, he wrote a malicious letter to the president. Introspective. Examination of one's thoughts and feelings. Identical experience and introspective experience further deepen direct experience. Jamie is an introspective young man who always seems to be lost in his own thoughts. Euphoric. Feelings of generating intense happiness. Scientists are euphoric at the potential success of genetic engineering on humans. The first few months may be a euphoric bonding experience for both mother and baby. Poignant. Having a very sharp feeling of sadness. The book's ending was poignant and caused me to reflect upon my own family life. Because the poignant movie reminded me of my painful childhood, it made me cry. Authentic. Something real or genuine. The visitor to the museum can enjoy a medieval banquet in an authentic setting. The story could not have continued to exist unless it had been authentic and genuine. Elegant. Graceful and stylish in appearance or manner. He looked like a miniature version of his handsome and elegant big brother. He uses simple math in a very deep and elegant way to crack important questions. Ambiguous. Having more than one possible meaning. Based on your ambiguous look, I cannot tell if you found my joke funny or offensive. Many companies are appealing against the ruling because the wording is ambiguous. Derogatory. Showing a critical or disrespectful attitude. Since James has a derogatory credit report, he is finding it hard to get a car loan. Once you finish insulting me with derogatory words, we can have a peaceful conversation. Glorious. When something is fabulous or wonderful. The athletes' performance in the Olympics was a glorious moment for their country. The evening was a lavish affair with glorious food and an endless supply of champagne. Exuberant. Feeling really happy and enthusiastic. The exuberant photographer was willing to climb the mountain to get the perfect photo. A rich and exuberant growth of the plants is the first essential of successful tea cultivation. Fervent. Having, or displaying a passionate intensity. Although the candidate made a fervent appeal for votes, he still did not win the election. Since terrorists are fervent about their beliefs, they will do anything to achieve their goals. Esoteric. Having an inner or secret meaning. Although this all seems technical and esoteric, the human impact is devastatingly real. Only a couple of people I know share your esoteric thoughts on those religious principles. Cliché. A phrase or expression that has been used so often. Could you please stop using that cliché and say something I haven't heard before? By using a cliché repeatedly in the lyrics, the songwriter has made the tune very boring. Perceptible. Capable of being noticed and recognizable. There was a rainbow, but the sky was still so bright that it was scarcely perceptible. When my father became angry, there was a perceptible change in his facial expression. Sardonic. Being scornful and mocking in a humorous way. Although my sister spoke in a sardonic voice, I knew she meant no disrespect to me. It is easy to make sardonic remarks or cynical observations about our past failures. Insipid. Not having a strong taste or character. When you present, please do not be an insipid speaker who makes everyone fall asleep. The music playing in the background was insipid and didn't add anything to the atmosphere. Tranquil. Quiet and free from disturbance. If Jim does not take his anti-anxiety medicine, he has a hard time staying in a tranquil mood. The relationship between the two countries had become tranquil, after a very upsetting period. Ludicrous. Causing laughter because of absurdity. I find it ludicrous that nothing has been done to protect passengers from fire. Because John is too lazy to work, his dream of becoming a billionaire is quite ludicrous. Miraculous. Very wonderful, or amazing like a miracle. According to legend, the old woman had miraculous powers that could heal the sick. He underwent 6 hours of emergency brain surgery and made a miraculous recovery. Colloquial. Associated with familiar and informal conversation. The best way to improve your colloquial English is by listening to native speakers. The style is conversational, colloquial, and concise, with most clips lasting less than a minute. Delicate. Easily damaged, or requires careful handling. The delicate flower was broken at the stem during the first storm of the season. Delicate and valuable books are kept in an air-conditioned annex to the main library. Devastating. Highly destructive, or damaging. The government is suppressing inflation by devastating the economy, he said. If the bomb had exploded in the main shopping area, it would have been devastating. Abnormal. Deviating from the normal or average. Every episode marked him, though there was no evidence of any abnormal behavior. Traumatizing a child with an abnormal fear of strangers probably won't do much good. Excruciating. Causing great pain, or anguish. The excruciating labor pains have convinced her to never get pregnant again. After going home, he was resting on his couch when he experienced excruciating chest pain. Dubious. Uncertain feelings, or doubt about something. The assumption that growth in one country benefits the whole world is highly dubious. If his dubious transactions come to the notice of the authorities, he'll get it in the neck. Egotistical. Thinking you are more important than others. My brother is very egotistical and thinks he is by far the best baseball player. He doesn't have many friends due to his egotistical personality keeping them away. Petrified. So frightened that one is unable to move. The horrifying car accident petrified the witnesses, but they had to go forward and help. The unexpected failure petrified the students, but they gathered the courage to move forward. Coherent. Logical and well-organized, easy to understand. They need a coherent strategy to support the role of the sector in service delivery. The party's policies were based on prejudice rather than on any coherent ideology. Perplexed. Something is difficult to understand or solve. The sudden ups and downs of the share market have left analysts perplexed. Police were perplexed by the killing because there didn't seem to be any motive. Authoritarian. Controlling everything and forcing people to obey. At last, the country has freed itself from the chains of the authoritarian regime. His speech provides further evidence of his increasingly authoritarian approach. Heartfelt. Very strongly felt, or extremely sincere. My heartfelt wish is for my best friend to have a speedy recovery from her injuries. After winning the award, the actress expressed her heartfelt gratitude to her parents. Outstanding. Much better than usual, excellent. The company is an outstanding example of a small business that grew into a big one. Since Jonas was an outstanding employee, he won the award for Employee of the Month. Explicit. Leaving no room for confusion or doubt. He was explicit about his intention to overhaul the party's internal voting system. At the very least, the use of such powers requires the most explicit public leadership. Luxurious. Extremely comfortable, or elegant in manner. The life of the ruling class was comfortable and even luxurious from early times. A classic bathroom often uses dark wood and heavy textures to create a luxurious space. Destitute. Essentially means not having something. The English aristocracy of the 19th century cared little for the poor and destitute. Taxpayers would have to pay health insurance premiums for the old and destitute. Gorgeous. Strikingly beautiful, or magnificent. There is no denying the fact that this particular landscape looks absolutely gorgeous. A month ago I met an extremely gorgeous woman who was quite a bit older than me. Thrilled. Feeling intense pleasurable excitement. We were not exactly thrilled, because we felt that several elements were missing. His brain remained razor-sharp, he gave thrilling lectures, and his research continued. Mind-blowing. Extremely impressive, or surprising. The astronauts had mind-blowing views of planet Earth from the spaceship. What happened in the next 15 minutes is hard to describe, but it was mind-blowing. Frivolous. Not having any serious purpose or value. She thought that reading romantic novels was a frivolous way of spending her time. Carelessly wasting money on frivolous purchases can lead to debt and financial stress. Eloquent. Fluent, or persuasive in speaking or writing. When you listen to an eloquent politician speak, you always understand his message. An eloquent minister can hold his congregation's attention even during a long sermon. Gloomy. Having or showing a lack of hope. The river was very wide and muddy, and the jungle was very gloomy and dense. When the economy is gloomy, there can be temptation to cut corners and play it safe. Appalling. Very unpleasant and shocking. Because he lied to everyone, his actions were considered appalling in his circle of friends. The discrimination faced by the minority community was appalling against the Constitution. Grotesque. Odd, or unnatural in shape and appearance. It's grotesque to expect a person of her experience to work for such little money. The horror movie featured grotesque creatures that haunted the protagonist's nightmares. Pensive. Quietly sad, or thoughtful. The cover art accurately reflects the content, which is often pensive, delicate, and private. While Jane had been quite carefree in her youth, her older years have made her quite pensive. Elaborate. To do with great care, or with much detail. Only my mother could turn simple sardines into an elaborate seafood pasta dish. We shall not elaborate on it any further, since much has already been said about this. Insatiable. Incapable of being satisfied or appeased. A card is selected and the apparently insatiable vacuum removes the ink from its face. The world's insatiable demand for energy is rapidly altering the economics of its production. Pungent. Having a sharply strong taste or smell. The flavor of the cheese was sharp and pungent, and it lingered in my mouth for a while. The scent of the flowers disappeared under the pungent smell of the nearby garbage dump. Cumbersome. Large, heavy, and therefore difficult to use. The organization changed its cumbersome title to something easier to remember. The customer service agent said she would have to pay extra for her cumbersome suitcase. Remarkable. Worthy of note and attention. The soldiers showed remarkable patience and endurance throughout the battle. Because of my son's remarkable academic achievements, he has been awarded 6 scholarships. Preposterous. Extremely unreasonable and foolish. The idea that the government is hiding evidence of extraterrestrial life is preposterous. The idea that the Earth is hollow and inhabited by advanced civilizations is preposterous. Mischievous. Enjoying or having fun by causing trouble. The mischievous student has been disobedient to his mother since he was a child. The police warned us not to engage in any kind of mischievous behavior on the boardwalk. Plausible. Reasonable and likely to be true. They have plausible arguments to put forward, and we must try to answer. Your business proposal would be plausible if you actually had $5 million in the bank. Zealous. Full of energy, effort, and enthusiasm. As I looked around the football stadium, I saw many zealous fans wearing face paint. Although Jack is a zealous dog lover, he does not allow his pets to sleep on his bed. Sparkling. Shining brightly with points of flashing. The audience was enthralled for 2 hours by a sparkling, dramatic performance. The sparkling stars are the best part of the night sky if there are no clouds blocking them. Old-fashioned. No longer modern or fashionable. At the farm, there was an old-fashioned pump for drawing water from a well. When you look at their new system, ours seems very old-fashioned by contrast. Outrageous. Highly unusual, or unconventional. The amount of time it took to get a response from customer service was outrageous. The way some people dress inappropriately in public is outrageous and disrespectful. Indifferent. Showing or feeling no interest. Young people are becoming increasingly indifferent toward politics and religion. Most voters felt indifferent towards the actual treaty that was being voted for or against. Hilarious. Amusing and causing a lot of laughter. Our attempts at dancing were hilarious, we all kept tripping over each other. Their new comedy show features hilarious sketches and a host of top celebrity guests. Mournful. Feeling or expressing sorrow or grief. The mournful sounds emerging from the funeral made everyone very sad indeed. Although we were at a birthday party, the crazy musician played mournful and gloomy lyrics. Impressionable. Easily influenced by other people. As a marketing executive, Keith knows the importance of targeting impressionable kids. The new policy has been implemented to protect young and impressionable viewers. Vindictive. Having a tendency to seek revenge. While I am angry with Victoria, I will not be vindictive and make lies about her. He was known to be tough and unrelenting, and he could be ruthless and vindictive. Labyrinthine. Intricate and confusing, like a labyrinth. It takes a fair amount of concentration to follow the movie's labyrinthine plot. The fourth chapter discusses the labyrinthine relationship between the author and the reader. Empathetic. The ability to sense other people's feelings. Mindful people are happier, more exuberant, more empathetic, and more secure. Doctors need to be both clinically competent and empathetic toward their patients. Ominous. A feeling that something bad is going to happen. Because of the ominous music, we knew something bad was about to happen. What information has been gathered contains some subtle but ominous signs. Nefarious. Wicked, criminal, or villainous in action. Many of the spies had been involved in murder, blackmail, or other nefarious activities. Activating two-factor authentication will protect your email from the nefarious actions of hackers. Circumspect. Cautious and unwilling to take risks. In the future, we must be circumspect of those who offer us riches for nothing in return. Even though he knew the killer was in handcuffs, the cop was still circumspect of the criminal. Luminous. Full of or shedding light, especially in the dark. His prose is simple and luminous and quite popular among ordinary readers. They used the computer program to give the actress the luminous appearance of an angel. Pompous. Excessively elevated or ornate. Because the movie star was pompous, she spent most of her time looking in the mirror. The millionaire was a pompous man who believed he should never wait in line for anything.